Hello, everyone. Dr. Joseph Capps coming back to you again with another episode of our podcast and our YouTube channel, Dancing with the Darkness. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time today, this is a raw, unfiltered account of living with CPTSD. I share a lot of my own story. We talk about CPTSD, PTSD, very, very high levels of stress, anxiety, depression. We touch on operator syndrome, different things of that nature. So, trigger warning for you, we do discuss the intimate details of CPTSD, and some of those things may agitate you or cause you to have an emotional flashback. And usually, if I get into something really, really deep, I will voice that before we actually talk about it. For those of you that are return listeners, I just want to thank you so much for your support. Obviously, we can't do this without your support. Very grateful that we had a tremendous amount of feedback last time on the last video. We had some great comments. This makes me better. It makes the channel better. It makes the podcast better. So thank you so much for that. Those of you that have liked and subscribed and shared, thank you so much. We are growing slowly but surely, and I truly believe that whoever needs to hear this message, God will put it out there for them to hear it. Want to thank you so much. And today we're going to talk about some things that kind of are hidden and not necessarily in the broad spectrum of CPTSD. I'm going to talk about some of the things that people who are not well versed with this don't understand what we're living through and what we're dealing with. But also, I want to touch on this for those of us that are living with this. And I want you to be able to identify with this and obviously realize that you're not alone, and that, you know, in a lot of ways we're in this together. We just have to understand that we're not alone. Some truths are not spoken in textbooks or in clinics. They are actually created silently within us between heartbeats. That's how sudden these things happen with CPTSD. It can be the way that we scan a room before we can enter and relax. It can be us giving an apology literally for taking up oxygen, for breathing, or for taking up space in the world. These are some of the things, just a couple of the things that we deal with living with complex CPTSD. And I'm here to tell you, the more white hair that I get, the older that I get, the harder this is. And that's why it's so important to take the steps to start embracing your healing journey as soon as you can. That's why we're on here. That's why we're doing this channel. The ultimate part of our healing is turning our own pain into purpose. And if there's something that I've lived through or survived, or that I'm still living through, that I can reflect upon on this channel, and it is something that resonates with you and strengthens you, helps you identify not only with yourself, but identify with God and identify with the fact that you're not alone. That's why we're here, and that's why this is so important. So I want to talk about some of the things that even we don't really recognize a lot of times. I'm just thinking about years and years. I'm just thinking about years of this in my own life where I didn't recognize the coping strategies and the things that I was doing silently to navigate the world of complex traumatic stress. It's not about a single moment, but it's the weight of many, many moments in your life. This is what reshaped how we see everything. Today we're going to give a voice to these things that we've lived with in silence, okay? I want to talk about 8 specific unspoken truths that we deal with CPTSD, and I want to help those that are listening to this, that maybe they have a loved one that's dealing with CPTSD, or maybe you're somebody that's been diagnosed with bipolar or borderline or generalized anxiety or one of these things, and you listen to this today and you discover, hey, wait a minute, I don't have that mental uh, disorder title. I actually probably have CPTSD. So there's going to be an educational component today, but there's also going to be a very powerful spiritual journey today as we go through these. As I try to tell you from my own experience how I've lived through this, but also some things that I know 100% will help you get over some of these things. The first thing that comes to mind is that we never ever feel safe. Peace even can feel unsafe. This is where it's so tricky. For most people, a quiet home, a stable job with a good income, maybe they have a calm relationship that is very regulated and healthy. These are things that most people would say that would be an ultimate goal for them, right? They would want to have these things. If you talk to people on the street, and you talk about what would make you happy, or what would you see as a happy life, a lot of times they would say that. They would say, hey, I'd like to have peace, I'd like to have calm, I'd like to be able to have a career that I like, and for that to be fulfilling and to be not so stressful, and I would like to be able to come home to someone and have a peaceful, calm, loving relationship. Hey, it sounds perfect, right? Unfortunately, it's not normally perfect, and a lot of times it doesn't happen. And in the world of CPTSD, we don't even know how to navigate these things, even if we had it. Something very quiet for us can be the loudest noise in the room. Um, when you've grown up in chaos, your nervous system learns that chaos is normal, okay? And so we get acclimated to chaos being normal. And so when we have calm, or we have tranquility, or something isn't happening that's causing an adrenal response, it can be very uncomfortable for us, and it can literally cause us anxiety. And it's because we're waiting for the storm. This is the calm before the storm, and we are waiting for this to happen. And it's very, very unfortunate, but I've lived this way for many, many years, and it's very difficult. And sometimes we even sabotage the calm environment because we can't stand. We're like, uh-oh, something's going to happen. When is it going to happen? And we drive ourselves literally crazy waiting for that moment to happen. In the quiet, you see there's nothing to react to, there's nothing to fight against, and so the brain starts searching for the threat. I'm going to read a quote to you, and I don't know who made this quote, but it was on a veterans page, and it was talking about us when we come home. And it says, we were trained to destroy the enemy, trained to destroy evil, whatever, and then we come home and there's nothing to destroy but ourselves, and so we don't quit until we destroy everything. And that was very profound to me, because that's basically what this is talking about, is that without that fight or flight, without that adrenal reaction, without that response, without that chaos in our lives, we can unfortunately become even more uncomfortable, even more out of sync with our nervous system, and it can be even harder for us. Our nervous system is actually seeking for a threat. It is so used to having a threat or something to fight against or something to defend against that it literally starts searching this out. And it's really, really hard. Our nervous system, our amygdala, they're literally looking around going, okay, I know it's here somewhere. Where is it? Where is it? And so we end up having some serious consequences to this, especially as we get older. Our physical body and our mental capacity has a much harder time dealing with this all the time. I mean, these stress hormones, cortisol, in particular, which is getting a lot more traction now. People are talking about it. It causes a lot of issues, not just with our mental health, but our physical health. And so this is really weighing down our body, weighing down our nervous system, and it's really affecting us all the way to daily activities. And so we need to think about that. Our alarm system has basically been wired to believe that stability is an illusion, okay? And so uh, it's literally feels like a trap. And it's very, very hard when this happens because, you know, learning to relax is not a luxury, okay? It's a monumental task for us with CPTSD. And I want to talk about that for a second because I need people to understand that this isn't something that we're doing consciously or on purpose or something that we want to do. This isn't how we want to live. It's basically like me teaching, when I was in the military, I'm teaching one of my soldiers who has been at war for years, okay, that they are finally home. And so it's very difficult. You've been in that environment for years and years and years. You've been at war. You've been in the, in the SHIT is how we say it in the military. You've been in it. And now I want you to just come home and, hey, realize you're home. You're safe. It's over with. It doesn't work that way. We've been wired. We've been wired for this internal battle that we're having to fight, okay? Our body remembers the war. Our nervous system remembers the war. And this is something that we live with every single day. And so the word complex at the front of PTSD, it connotates what it is. It's very, very complicated. It's very, very diverse. It has many layers, okay? And so I'm not just saying for that for those of you that are listening that have CPTSD. I'm saying it for any loved ones or anyone that's trying to understand their loved one that has CPTSD, to understand that this is a complicated thing. Now, is it impossible? Absolutely not. It's not impossible, but we have to give our loved ones a tremendous amount of grace. We have to give them a tremendous amount of patience and love, and enduring love at that. If we choose to be with them and we choose to work through this with them, we have to keep that in mind, that this is a hard process. And I can tell you, before we go on to the next one of the greatest healing strategies out there for this is a partner, a loving partner that is consistent. Okay, so if you're in this relationship with this person and you love them and you want to stick it out with them, your consistency is paramount. It is more powerful than anything, because the same consistency of peace and calm and love and nurturing that you bring, that consistency is what's helping to rewire the brain and to help us understand that there is such a thing as safety. There is such a thing as calm. There is such a thing of being able to finally come home. Okay, and so I want you to understand that your efforts are not unseen. They are not unheard. And you, perhaps as the immediate support system of this person with CPTSD, besides God, will have the most profound effect on our recovery and helping us get over this and becoming a new creation. Really, like Scripture says, we become a new creation when we're shown this consistent patience, grace, and love. It is amazing who we can become, and then we're able to take this resiliency and this experience and what we've been through and have a very deep empathic understanding of others, and really know how to help them and to walk beside them and to love them. And many of us have felt alone almost our entire life because we didn't have that. And so the true gift of healing at the end of your journey is being able to walk along someone else and to help give them that gift of healing based on your experiences. So it's very powerful. Another thing that we do sometimes, and psychology calls it generativity versus stagnation, when we get to this certain age and we start looking back on our life and stuff like that, and is there regret, or do I feel like I did a good thing with my years on this earth? And this is a normal thing that happens with us as we age. But with CPTSD, it gets a little bit deeper because we literally experience some grief. And I'm going to tell you, as you start your healing journey, you're going to feel some grief, and it's good because we never did grieve, and grief is necessary. And I'm going to tell you what we're grieving. We're grieving who we could have been. Okay, there's a lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas that our brain wants to process that it's not going to be able to, because you cannot predict an outcome or see an outcome clearly because it isn't reality. So we can imagine, we can think, this is how I would be, or this is how that would be, but we really can't process it because it's not a solid, empirically based thought in our brain. So we have no factual evidence or visual evidence to make that a reality or to make it truth. Okay, so we cannot process that. So we need to understand that we're going to have some grief. As we're healing, we're going to start mourning some of the things that happen to us. We're going to start noticing other people that have healthier parents, that have healthier relationships. We're going to start seeing what in our mind may look normal. What is normal, that's up for anybody's interpretation, but we're going to start having some grief and some mourning, and we're going to look back on all these years, and there's even, I remember a part of me thinking like I wasted my life, like, I've wasted my years on this earth, being in a survival state, and I've done my very best to help others, and I've been my very best to be a good husband and a good father, but you feel like you failed in a way, which is part of the CPTSD too. We have an inner critic that's constantly making us out to be a failure. And so there is part of that in this generativity that we go through with CPTSD as we begin to heal, and we get to a certain age. We start thinking, wow, I've wasted my entire life with CPTSD, literally living in this state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And this has been my life, and everything that I've done has been defined by this. It's been defined by my trauma. It's been defined by what I've been through, the cumulative stress, and everything else. And so the stagnation part of that is we can get stuck in this. We can, here we are, we've made it this far in life, and we've gotten to this point, and now, at this age, we're just going to sit here and stagnate and cry in our cornflakes and wait for God to take us, right? That's not acceptable. You've started the healing journey. You have to look retrospectively at who you are and how you got here and why you do the things that you do, because this is the beautiful part. This is the caterpillar turning into the butterfly, because all of these things have purpose. All of these things have forged your character, your integrity, who you are, and we can turn these things into some amazing, amazing tools, not only for ourselves, but for people around us that are suffering. Because you got to think about yourself. And I think about me and how many people did not help me or were not equipped to help me. There were some good people that came into my life, and they were not equipped to help me because they did not have the experience. They had what a textbook told them. They knew that there was some developmental trauma in there and some different things, but all they had was clinical knowledge. They did not have the ability to really experience empathy and understand. And this is the beauty of who we become, is that we have that gift, that we can be the person in the room that they can finally open up to, and there's no shock, there's no awe, there's none of this, oohs and ahs. We are able to say, yep, I understand. I've dealt with that. Some of that is still residual in me. I understand exactly what you're going through, and let's go through this together. And now this person's not alone, and in a way, you're not alone either, which is great. So you're going to have some of that grief with CPTSD. You're going to mourn, who might I have been? Would I have pursued this dream? Would I have done this? Would I have done that? Would the path be different? Would I have married somebody different? You don't know. You don't know. There's lots of things that we can do that can make us live in retrospect and think about these things. Number 3, which is we're briefly going to touch on, which we've talked about before. Your body does keep the score. The cumulative effect of trauma and CPTSD. If you could turn our bodies inside out, we would be a lot older than we look on the outside. Some of us do show age on the outside from stress, but a lot of people don't, and you have no idea what they've walked through in their life and what they've experienced. And there is an unbelievable amount of damage that it does to our body. Okay, stress and adrenal response and cortisol and all of these things, they cause inflammation. And, we have tied this inflammation from stress to the big killers in our society: heart disease and high blood pressure and diabetes and fibromyalgia. I mean, you name it, there are diabetes. These things are absolutely comorbid and related to the stress response, especially cumulative response. We also see higher occurrences of dementia and Alzheimer's disease because our brain has been in this stress reaction for so long. It starts to really damage the cognitive function of our brain and the synapses in the brain and the connections and all of these things. So we need to understand that this does affect us physiologically. And I probably don't have to tell any of you that because you are already feeling it. You're already feeling the constant fatigue and feeling like you never get enough rest and just constantly feeling worn out. I totally understand. And part of it is we're getting older, but part of it is, a little abnormal. We shouldn't have so much fatigue and be living off of all this caffeine and everything else. Okay, so this is part of it. We need to understand that it's taken a toll. But at the same time, our body is an amazing healing machine. God engineered it to do things that we will never understand medically or scientifically. And so we need to understand, just like when I quit smoking back in the day, the doctor told me, within 10 years, your lungs will be back to normal. If you made it into that magic window where there was no permanent damage, your lungs restored themselves and healed, and it looks like the lungs of someone who never smoked before. That's just one example. So our brain also can heal. We can rewire it. We can get our cognitive abilities back. We can do a lot of things, but it takes work. And if you're willing to do the work, then it's going to happen. Okay, that's all I'm going to tell you, is that if you're willing to do the work, it will happen for you. Number 4 is a tricky one. We constantly feel too much, but also not enough at the same time. Okay, it's living in a state of contradiction, if that makes sense. You might feel your emotions with incredible intensity when you're sad. Okay, it's a crushing weight. When you're anxious so strongly, okay, you're feeling this. It's a consuming storm. You feel everything so strongly, and because of that, you constantly worry that you are too much for other people, too sensitive, too needy, too broken. But at the same exact time, there's a hollow feeling inside of us, a sense of being fundamentally lacking. Okay, and this is that inner critic has a lot to do with this. You feel like you're not smart enough, you're not strong enough, you're not good enough. You look at others who seem to navigate life with ease, and you feel like you're missing some essential human part that everyone else got. And this is, a combination of the inner and the outer critic, and it's based on, a lot of it is developmental trauma and based on what we were told constantly, what we were inundated with by our unhealthy parents or our caregivers. And so this is hardwired into our system, and it's no different from when we go to the doctor and they hit our knee to test our reflexes. There's no way that I can stop my leg from rising. No matter how hard I concentrate, no matter how hard I meditate on it, my knee is going to jump when he hits that tendon. Okay, and so we develop these same reflexes in our brain, and it is an automatic thought just like that. It's unconscious, and it happens. And so we have this tug of war within ourselves where we are feeling these emotions so intensely, but at the same time we're feeling so small and so worthless and so out of touch with the world. And we get to a point where we try to shrink ourselves so that we can be less of a burden, while also desperately trying to build yourself up to feel worthy. It is such a contradiction, and it is so hard. It is making finding a stable sense of self almost impossible. Okay? The 5th thing is trust. Wow. trust isn't just hard for us, it feels dangerous, okay? For a person with CPTSD, the world was often a place where we were never safe, okay? We're the ones, who were supposed to be safe were the ones who caused the harm, okay? Our parents, our caregivers, whoever was supposed to be the one that was our caregiver and give us safety and security, they're the ones causing harm. And this really dysregulates our nervous system. It completely destroys our attachment strategies. We have no idea how to navigate the world. So when we're kids, we dissociate, we people please, we fawn, we do whatever we can to navigate the circumstances to survive. But fast forward into our adult years, we don't have the ability so much to dissociate anymore, and we still find ourselves fawning and people pleasing, trying to navigate the world, and we don't realize that happiness is a choice, and there's absolutely nothing we can do to make anyone happy. They have to choose to be happy. Not to mention, we continue to find ourselves in relationships, whether it's friendships, romantic, employment, it doesn't matter, but we find ourselves continuing to be around these narcissistic or domineering individuals that we are a victim and they see us as a victim, and we supply whatever need they have. They're like an energy vampire, and they suck off of us, and we continue to be in that environment. So that is not helping. All that's doing is giving us more cognitive reasoning and more evidence to support our already defunct beliefs that this is how it's supposed to be, this is how I'm supposed to live, this is, how it goes. And so trust becomes not only impossible, it becomes dangerous, okay? And this is where that outer critic is coming in, and we did a video about this. The outer critic is Superman, the Caped Crusader, and it's coming in and it's trying to rescue us from the world. It's trying to tell us, hey, you know what? They're going to hurt you. They're going to do something bad to you. You better get out while you can. And so this is when when we're in relationships and we finally find a healthy person, we wear them down. Eventually we wear them down because, they're doing everything they can. They're being consistent. They're trying to give us what we need. And we are just so terrified to trust. We're so terrified to be vulnerable because it's going to be catastrophic. If they see those pieces of ourselves and we allow those pieces to come out, it's very, very dangerous because we are the sole protector of that inner child. We are the sole protector of our young self that was abused. And so we feel like our whole life's goal beyond anything else is to protect that wounded child inside of us, and no one can see it and no one can know about it, and it can never come out of its prison. And so this is why trust is so hard. The people that should have been in direct influence on our ability to emotionally regulate and have emotional intelligence and to build healthy personalities and character were the very ones that were systematically dismantling us as we developed. We were literally developing and growing, not just physically, mentally, and spiritually. They were dismantling those pieces of us, all three. And so the adult person that we become is often dysfunctional and has what we call issues. And this is CPTSD, and it is what it is. And I don't believe in labels, but at the same time, sometimes we do need to label something so we have an enemy to fight. If we have something that's unseen and unheard, we don't know how to deal with it. So sometimes we need to label this as what it is. We need to understand the who, what, where, when, why of CPTSD, and this is giving us the ability to have something tangible that we can fight against. It's giving us goals that we know that we can achieve, and it's giving us hope most of all. The hope component is the most important thing. And my hope comes from a Savior, Jesus Christ, that who saved me and 100% saved me. And that's just my testimony and my journey. It was not any human being that pulled me out of the pit. It was God himself. And then he uses other people that have been through similar things to help you along the way. And it's been my journey ever since then to do whatever I can to equip myself clinically, physically, educationally, whatever I need or God puts in my path to learn, I apply it to my practice, and I apply it to what I do with this podcast, with anything that I do in representation of him and in mental health. I do with experience at the forefront and what I've overcome. And so that's the gift at the end of this. Okay, this is, eventually we do get to the point where we can trust. And it's going to be what they call cognitive dissonance in the beginning, where it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be foreign, and it's going to be scary for us because we've always thought it was dangerous. But back to what I said in the beginning, if you're a partner or a very good friend or someone that's in this journey, even a therapist that's working with clients, if you can be consistent and always show up and always use the same language and always say the same things, and you can exhibit some grace and some patience with us, it is the most profound impact on our lives possible besides God and what God can do. You doing that with us is unbelievably healing, and it really is the magic behind this, because we have to systematically rewire ourselves and understand that I am lovable, I am special, I'm not perfect, but I'm lovable, and I have value, and I was put on this earth for a reason, and I was crafted by God for a reason, and I deserve to be loved, and I deserve to be valued. Okay, and that's us contradicting that inner critic. And then on the other side of that, because of your consistency of love and patience and grace with us, we can rewire our brain and understand that everyone in the world is not unsafe. Based on our experiences, a large portion is not safe, and this turns into a positive thing in life because we're able to protect ourselves and our families. It's not a bad thing. But it needs to be in a healthy way where we recognize the difference between what's harmful and not. And so there cannot be light without the dark. And that's why we call this dancing with the darkness. So we need to understand that there are people out there that are trustworthy and consistent, and they truly, truly love us, and they won't betray us, and they won't harm us. And this is the magical component that really helps us start to be able to rewire our brain. It's quite amazing. We can learn that there is such thing as a safe harbor, and it doesn't all have to be a battlefield. And so those of you that are in relationships with people like myself with CPTSD and you're struggling, this is for you. I want you to know how important you are to us and your value. And eventually we do get to a point where we can realize that, and we will appreciate you, and I'm telling you, we will be fiercely loyal and protective of you. Okay, so that's the payoff. If you can stick it out with us, you will get, in return of your investment, love and loyalty and passion and things that you could never imagine. Because once we're able to let the real part of us out, that suppressed part of us, it actually is a very beautiful, beautiful creation inside of us that's been in prison, that's been forced to be in prison all these years. So if you can stick it out, I promise you, you're going to get an amazing return on your investment. Number 6, we become an expert. And this one for me is kind of tricky because there's a clinical part of this, but I do believe that there's a crafting from God when it comes to this as well. I believe to be a true empath, we know clinically that when we have developmental trauma that we either, it seems to be a flip of a coin. We either see people come out as narcissists like their parents, or we see very, very highly sensitive people that are empathic. But I believe that you can be a true empath too, and I do believe that really comes from God. But we have this amazing way where we can read other people, okay? And the touche or the double-edged sword of this is that while we have this innate ability to read other people and their feelings and what the climate is in the room with them in it, we really are a stranger to ourselves. And so that really makes things hard. When you grow up in an environment where you constantly have to monitor the mood of a parent or a caregiver, you have to fawn all the time, or you have to people please to stay safe. What happens is we become hyper attuned to other people and their feelings because it becomes a survival mechanism. Okay, we can walk into a room and instantly you can read the emotional temperature. And I'll tell you, if you get really, really close to someone and you become vulnerable with them and you really enter into a covenant with them, there's another double-edged sword. The beautiful part is that you can feel this other person. I mean, it's the closest thing I can think of is studies done on twins where one of them is somewhere way over there and they get hurt and the twin knows immediately. It's very similar to that. You can get to a point where you feel this other person that deeply, okay? And this can be overwhelming. It can be a beautiful thing, but also it can be overwhelming for the other person because it almost feels like an invasion of their mental privacy. It's like, dude, you're reading my thoughts. This is uncomfortable. So we have to be conscious of that. But we feel it as soon as we go in the room, whether it's work or home or wherever it is. We feel the unease, we feel the tension. If somebody in there is agitated, we automatically feel that. Okay, we can notice the slightest shift in the tone of their voice. I hate text messaging now that we have these phones because text messaging makes it even harder because you can't really understand the tone or the emotions behind the words. And so one little word that's wrong, we hyper concentrate on that and we get all bent out of shape and we get anxious. And this is all part of that hypervigilance, believe it or not. This is that necessary survival mechanism that we had to have in that abusive environment to be able to survive. So we end up becoming amazingly attuned at the reactions and the needs of others in order to protect ourselves. Okay. The problem is that we spent so much time focusing outward that we have never been able to focus inward. Okay. And this is a real problem. You may know exactly what your friend might need, or your loved one might need, or the person at work might need, but you have no idea what you need when you're upset. Okay. So this causes a lot of issues. You're a stranger to your own world. I mean, that's basically what happens. The journey of healing for many, it's slow and it can be confusing. Okay, it's a process, a slow and arduous process of turning that powerful observation inward and learning who we are and learning to read ourselves with the same abilities that we have to read other people. And it's hard. And if you're fortunate and you have somebody in your corner that's fighting for you and loves you and knows you, that's another thing that they help with, is that they can be like, look, based on what I know about you, you're angry or you're sad or something is off. And they help you learn to start focusing inward and to understand your own feelings and how to solve these problems, which is really, really important. We have to get to a point where we offer ourselves the same care and attention that we give to others. And we need to understand that that's not selfish. That's not a selfish thing. That's something that we need to do and we have to do. It's self-preservation, a healthy version of self-preservation, not the dysfunctional self-preservation that we've been living our entire life based on the developmental trauma. We need to understand number 7 is a big one, and we talk about this a lot, and this is a big one with me. Shame and guilt, man. Shame and guilt are so powerful, and so much of it is false. So much of it is unfounded, but this is how we grow up. We end up feeling shame and guilt because it's been put on us by our caregivers. It's been put on us by other people. And so, we have this fundamental feeling of being dirty or flawed. Shame is one of the most persistent and painful things, legacies. It's just a legacy of long-term trauma. It's something that has affected me my entire life, and it's really, really difficult. Okay, everything that goes wrong, we try to, navigate. It feels like it's us. It feels like, we did something wrong. It's just this innate state that we've done something wrong, when somebody else is having a hard time, when somebody that we're trying to people please or fawn with, we're trying to navigate that situation, we just have this guilt that we had something to do with it. So really the definitive difference here is that guilt is the feeling that we've done something wrong to cause something in someone else. Okay, so we feel like it's our fault. Now shame is a little bit harder to deal with, because shame is the feeling of being something wrong. I'm going to say that again. Shame is feeling that we are wrong. We are innately wrong. It's being something wrong. Okay, so I want you to think about that. We have this core belief that was put on us that we are just fundamentally broken. Okay, we are fundamentally broken. We're tainted. We're unlovable. We're just that. We came out of the womb and we are just a crap stain on the universe. Okay, and this is just so hard. This feeling has nothing to do with logic. You could be kind, successful, liked by a lot of people, a wonderful person, but deep down there's a voice that whispers to us. I think that it's beyond just mental health and what we've been through. I think that there's also supernatural forces on the dark side that like to do this, to make us feel worthless, to make us feel like we're never going to be anything. And I believe the reason why is because we can do a lot if we heal. The impact on the world that we can have by helping other broken people, and then that continues on, that ripple effect, that reciprocal effect. I don't think that we can even fathom the impact that it can have on generations to come. And I think that that's why the dark forces are after us all the time and trying to keep us from healing and ever getting out of this pit. And shame is one powerful weapon, let me tell you. It makes it to, we desperately want affirmation and compliments, and then when we get affirmation and compliments, we feel guilty about it, like we don't deserve it. That's just one of the many examples that I think about with shame and what it's done to me. I'm a classic overachiever. Nothing is ever good enough because I raise the bar for myself higher and higher and higher, just like my parents did. And I get accolades and awards, and I've gotten medals in the military and all of these things. And it just never feels good. It never feels like it's enough. It doesn't feel like I'm worthy of it. And it's just, it's a never-ending cycle. So we're basically chasing something that we're never going to achieve. We're chasing something that we're never going to catch. Sometimes with shame, we feel this constant need to apologize. And basically, we're literally apologizing for our own existence. Like, I'm sorry for breathing your oxygen in the room. I mean, it gets that bad. We need to understand that the trauma wasn't our fault. But the shame makes us feel like it was. It's heavy. It's invisible. It's a stain. It's a weight that we carry. And you live with the constant fear that if people get too close, they're finally going to see it. And guess what? They're going to do that thing that we're afraid of that happened to us, right? Abandonment. They're going to abandon us. We see the real Joe, we got to run. I know that all of you have felt that. But we need to understand that this stain and this dirt, it was never meant to be ours. It doesn't belong to us. It actually belongs to the people who did it to us. And that's going to be a hard thing to convince yourself of, but eventually you'll get there. You'll start to understand that they're the ones that have the guilt and the shame because they did that to me. And in order for me to be better, not only for me, but for everyone around me, to be the person that I know I'm crafted to be the person that I need to be, that I'm capable of being, I have to start understanding that those things that happen to me are not my fault. And that's one of the things that you're going to have to do. And if I can do it, you can do it. You're not alone. The last thing I want to go over, simply because we just touched on it, is that we can get to this point where success actually can be as terrifying as failure. Let me try to explain this. Failure is a familiar territory for us. Even if we haven't failed, we certainly think we have. It often confirms all these negative beliefs that we already have about ourselves. But success is new, and it can be terrifying. And then also success is kind of relative, right? What is success? Success in someone else's eyes may not be the same in my eyes, okay? Especially if I'm the ultimate achiever and I can't ever be satisfied with what I achieve. So we have to decide what is success, okay? And then when we finally get to this point where we think we may be successful, it can be very, very scary. So you achieve something, you get a promotion, you find a healthy relationship, or simply have a good day. It can trigger intense anxiety. And man, this sucks. I admit it, it sucks. That's tough. It's tough to finally be in a good mood, to finally feel calm and comfortable and happy, and then all of a sudden this overwhelming anxiety hits you because you're like, what is this? It's foreign. Am I going to lose it? Is this person going to abandon me? Am I going to lose that promotion? Am I going to lose this success that I achieved? Being invisible can be safe. Being seen can be dangerous. It raises expectations, not only for yourself, from others, but from others. It's this unseen thing. We think that expectations raise, and so that can be very stressful. There's always this constant fear that it can be taken away at any moment. Sometimes we hide behind, I think that I have hidden behind a comment that I make, and I say I don't take anything for granted, and honestly I need to face that. I need to face the fact that when I say I don't take anything for granted, that there is a component of fear there, and I need to face that fear. I need to understand that by me saying that, I'm trying to console myself that, if I lose it, it is what it is. But really, I need to understand that there's some fear there, and that's where that comes from. And so sometimes we need to look, we have to examine ourselves. And we need to understand that, hey, I've got some fear of loss. And of course, loss is going to happen. Loss is going to happen in life, okay? But we need to look for the consistency. Let's say it's a relationship and this person's been consistent and they've been through all of this with you and they have continued to be there and they have shown you over and over again, evidentially, that they're going to be there. At some point, if we have no actual reasons to fear the loss, like we are sabotaging the relationship, or we're treating them poorly, or we're doing things to hurt them, we need to start letting go of that fear. And this is where faith steps in. And this is why, it's so important for me to have God, because in order to have faith in other people around me, I've had to have faith in God. I've had to lean on his promises and look at his track record, right? Answered prayers and miracles and all the things that he's done. And that's helped me learn to trust other people and to not have that fear. And the way that this goes is you're not just fearing, you're not just learning to let go of the fear of losing. You're learning to accept that if you do lose, that God is going to be there for you and he's going to walk you through it and take care of you. And that's a big thing, because we've always been predisposed to the thought that we are going to do all of it alone. And so we have to start realizing, what people would call pessimism, okay, or negative thinking. For us, we're really just living out this inevitable belief in ourselves that disaster could be right around the corner. It's a conditioned response that we've learned. Our life experience has taught us that good things don't last. Learning to sit with success, to actually enjoy it and believe you deserve it. It's one of the quietest but most challenging things that we do with CPTSD. These truths that we've talked about today aren't easy to talk about. I know that they probably trigger some emotions. You may even be having some emotional flashbacks due to this, but it's really important that out of this video, you start to understand that it's okay to be seen. It's okay to be heard. It's okay to be loved. It's okay to heal. You deserve to be safe. You deserve to be loved. And you deserve to heal. And the false guilt and shame that you carry is not yours. It's been put on you by unhealthy people. And so, if anything from this video today, I hope that you understand that it's okay to care about yourself enough to realize that you deserve these things. And at the end of the day, you actually become a much better person, and you become a much better asset to those around you, whether it's fatherhood or as a husband or in a relationship or a coworker or a friend. At the end of the day, by giving ourselves a little bit of grace and learning to understand ourselves just a little bit more and why we are who we are, and accepting that we absolutely deserve to have the same things that we put into the world: dedication and love and integrity and character. And most of all, you were crafted in the womb of your mother by a loving Father in heaven that has a purpose for you. And whether we've been through pain or we haven't been through pain, he still has a purpose for you. And just remember that you were crafted uniquely and special for a very, very important integral mission on this earth while you're here. Hope this video spoke to you. Please comment, like, subscribe. It helps us out a whole lot. We're only here to help other people like us that need to hear these messages, and they need the support of a community and to realize that they're not alone. Until next time, God bless. Stay safe.